You go to bed at 10 p.m. You wake up at 6 a.m. You got your 8 hours. But the moment you open your eyes, you feel like you've been hit by a truck. Your body aches, your brain is foggy, and you instantly crave coffee. Why? If that's you, or someone you love, you're not lazy, you're not failing at life. You're failing at sleep. Not the time in bed sleep, but deep, restorative sleep. I call it junk sleep, the illusion of rest. Eyes closed, body awake. Here's the paradigm shift. Sleep quantity is not the same as sleep quality. You can spend 8 hours lying in bed and still never enter the biological repair state your body needs. Imagine charging your phone but never switching it on. That's what happens when your brain never hits deep sleep. So you wake up stiff, joints ache, back sore. Your thinking is slow, your memory is fuzzy, and that muffin top around your waist refuses to budge no matter how strict your diet is. You feel wired and tired, alert enough to get through the day, but not healed enough to improve. There's a very specific reason for this, buried in the deepest stage of sleep. In the next few minutes I'll show you what deep sleep actually does, not the fluffy, you should sleep more, advice, but the cellular mechanics. Once you understand it, the panic goes away and the solution becomes clear. I want you to picture two neighbors. One sleeps 8 hours and wakes refreshed. The other sleeps 8 hours and wakes broken. Same schedule, different biology. The difference? One hits, consistently, the brain and body repair modes. The other never does. If you're over 40 and you've been told, you just need more sleep, stop. You need the right type of sleep. In the next chapter I'll explain the sleep stage that repairs your body, clears your brain, and actually unlocks overnight fat burning. Stick around, because once you know that secret, everything changes. Okay, let's get specific. Sleep is not a single thing. It's a repeating cycle of stages, like rounds in a hospital. Some rounds are for triage. Some are for deep, hands-on repair. The stage we care about is called deep sleep, stage 3, also known as delta sleep. Here's the elevator pitch. Every night you run repeated 90 to 110-minute cycles. You move from light drowsy sleep, N1, to consolidated light sleep, N2, then into deep sleep, N3, and later into REM sleep where dreaming happens. Deep sleep usually shows up earlier in the night, the first 1 or 2 cycles, and that's when the body starts its heavy lifting. On an EEG, deep sleep looks like slow, high-amplitude waves called delta waves, roughly half a hertz up to about 4 hertz. Think of them as long, powerful heartbeats of the sleeping brain. Those slow pulses are a signal. Turn on repair mode. When enough delta activity appears, multiple systems switch from maintenance pending to maintenance now. During delta sleep your heart rate drops, breathing slows and becomes regular, and your sympathetic, fight or flight, system quiets down. This relaxed physiology isn't laziness, it's a prerequisite. At the same time the pituitary gland releases pulses of human growth hormone, HGH, which is a master regulator for tissue repair, muscle maintenance, and fat metabolism. In plain English, deep sleep is when your body gets busy rebuilding itself. HGH is not a bodybuilding gimmick, it's a daily repair signal. It helps your cells rebuild DNA damage, supports mitochondrial health, and signals the liver and fat cells to mobilize stored energy. If you regularly miss deep sleep, those HGH pulses shrink or disappear. The result: weaker repair, slower metabolism, and the kind of stubborn belly fat people over 40 complain about. There's another piece. Deep sleep helps flip your body from store mode into a safer, controlled burn mode overnight. Insulin sensitivity improves, stress hormones drop, and your liver and fat tissue can coordinate to release fatty acids for fuel. When deep sleep is missing, your biochemistry behaves like you never left the stress state, which locks calories into storage instead of letting them be burned. Healthy young adults often get a solid block of deep sleep early in the night, commonly an hour or two in those first cycles. But deep sleep declines with age. By midlife, many people get dramatically less deep sleep, which is why this video is aimed at viewers over 40. Less deep sleep equals less nightly repair, and that's a major reason why waking exhausted becomes the new normal. So here's the takeaway: you can have 8 hours of sleep and still miss the magic. What your body needs is real time in delta, a physiological signal that flips repair, cleansing, and overnight fat burning on. Without it, sleep is mostly window dressing. Next, we'll look under the hood of the brain's own dishwasher, the glymphatic system, and how delta waves literally enable your brain to rinse itself clean. It's the missing piece that explains the fog, the stiffness, and the stubborn fat. Don't miss it. Imagine your brain as a busy, messy kitchen. All day long plates, grease, and crumbs accumulate. If you never run the dishwasher, the mess builds up, and eventually the smell and grime slow the whole house down. Your brain has a dishwasher too. It kicks on during deep sleep. It's called the glymphatic system. The glymphatic system is a clearance network that uses cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, to flush metabolic waste out of the brain's interstitial spaces. During deep sleep, fluid rushes through channels, bathing brain tissue and carrying away proteins and toxins that accumulate during waking hours. It's literally a nightly rinse for your brain. To make room for this rinse, the spaces between brain cells increase. Think of it as the brain shrinking, just enough to let the cleaning fluid pour through. Some measurements describe an effective reduction in volume as fluid floods in. That structural change only reliably happens during slow-wave, delta-rich sleep. No deep sleep, no roomy pathways, no cleaning. Delta waves are not just a marker, they're a driver. Those slow oscillations lower norepinephrine and quiet the sympathetic nervous system. Chemical quiet allows the interstitial space to widen and CSF to surge. In short, delta waves flip the switch that lets the glymphatic system run at full speed. The glymphatic rinse clears metabolic byproducts like lactate, broken proteins, and critically, sticky proteins such as beta-amyloid and tau. If these molecules aren't removed efficiently, they accumulate and interfere with neuronal signaling. That's part of what produces morning brain fog, slow thinking, and over the long term can contribute to neurodegenerative risk. Here's the bad news for our audience over 40. Glymphatic efficiency declines with age. The channels become less efficient, aquaporin 4 water channels lose their polarity, and low-grade inflammation stiffens tissues, all of which gunk up the cleaning system. That's why older adults are more likely to wake with fog, stiffness, and slow recovery. Think of skipping deep sleep like skipping the dishwasher for nights in a row. After one night you notice nothing. After a week the sink overflows. That overflow is metabolic waste sitting in your brain, and it explains why even enough sleep can leave you foggy if the deep clean cycles never run. The result is a simple chain: junk sleep right pointing arrow, poor glymphatic clearance right pointing arrow, brain fog and slowed neuronal repair. But it also feeds the metabolic loop we talked about earlier. Poor sleep elevates stress signals and inflammation, which interfere with the hormonal night signals that promote fat mobilization. That's why bad brain cleaning links directly to waking tired and having stubborn belly fat. So the dishwasher matters. But 3 common villains keep it switched off. Next, we'll expose those villains: late-night cortisol, a too warm body, and blue light, and exactly how they sabotage delta waves and your nightly brain rinse. You'll want to know this. We've seen why deep sleep matters. Now let me show you the villains that quietly sabotage it, 3 everyday offenders that keep your brain and body from flipping into repair mode. They're common, sneaky, and fixable. Villain 1 is cortisol, the stress hormone. When you're worried, working late, or replaying fights in your head, cortisol stays elevated into the evening. That keeps your sympathetic nervous system primed, heart rate stays higher, norepinephrine stays up, and the brain can't produce the deep, slow delta rhythms. In plain language, you feel wired but exhausted. The brain never gets the signal to switch the dishwasher on. Common triggers: late-night emails, argument rumination, caffeine too late, and even hidden sources like chronic pain or low-grade inflammation. You can push cortisol down before bed. Use a deliberate wind down, 20 minutes of breathing, a cool shower, or light stretching. Avoid stimulants after mid-afternoon. And consider adaptogens like ashwagandha, clinically known to blunt evening cortisol for many people. The goal is to create a chemical environment that welcomes delta, not fights it. Villain 2 is deceptively simple: your core body temperature. To enter deep sleep, your body must cool down. If you're too warm, heavy blankets, warm bedroom, late hot bath, or even metabolic issues that keep heat high, your brain resists delta activity. It's like trying to sleep in a sauna. You might doze, but you won't get the pleasurable deep cycles that trigger repair. Simple fixes: cool your room, aim for noticeably cool, more on a specific rule later, use breathable bedding, and time hot showers so your body can cool before bed. If you're chronically hot at night, look for hidden causes: late alcohol, spicy foods close to bedtime, or even certain medications. Cooling is a deeply underused trick to invite delta waves. Villain 3 is blue light. Screens and bright LEDs suppress melatonin, the hormone that times your sleep, and they shift your internal clock. A phone scroll session an hour before bed isn't neutral, it's a chemical nudge telling your brain, stay alert. Even low levels of blue light can delay melatonin, push your deep sleep window later, and fragment delta activity. Block blue light in the last hour. Use night modes and warm bulbs earlier in the evening, but the most reliable option is to remove screens entirely for that last hour. If you must use devices, amber glasses or validated blue blocking filters help, and consider dimming overhead lights to a warm amber tone. These villains don't act alone, they gang up. Late-night stress keeps cortisol high, which raises core temperature and primes you to reach for a late-night snack or a screen. Blue light delays melatonin so you stay awake and stressed longer. The result? Delta waves never get a chance, the dishwasher never runs, and you wake foggy and stiff. Now that you know the villains, you can prevent their attacks. In the next chapter, I'll walk you through a targeted deep sleep protocol, specific molecules, nutrients, and nightly rituals that reset delta and kick the glymphatic system into high gear. Real change is simple, but it's impossible unless you first stop these saboteurs. We've diagnosed the problem: you're getting hours in bed but not the biology that matters. Now, the good news: there are tools to flip the system back on. Not magic pills, but targeted molecules and timing that create the exact chemical environment your brain and body need to enter delta sleep and run the glymphatic dishwasher. The protocol has 3 simple biochemical goals: lower evening cortisol, drop core body temperature, and restore the brain's sleep signaling chemistry so delta waves can appear. To do that, we combine calming minerals, adaptogens that blunt stress, and the building blocks for melatonin, timed to the last hours before sleep. Start with magnesium, preferably forms that are gentle on the gut like glycinate or taurate. Magnesium supports muscle relaxation, helps GABA-mediated calming, and can improve objective sleep metrics in many studies. Taken 30 to 60 minutes before bed, it's the biochemical baseline that lets the nervous system downshift. Next, adaptogens. Standardized ashwagandha extracts have been shown to reduce evening cortisol for many people and blunt the stress response. That lowers the sympathetic drive and removes a major block to delta waves. Think of ashwagandha as the targeted stress dimmer in this protocol. To nudge melatonin production and improve the timing of sleep, we use precursors like tryptophan or 5-HTP, the biochemical step before melatonin, and when appropriate, microdoses of melatonin timed to the start of sleep. These ingredients help tighten your internal sleep window so delta sleep arrives when it should. We also layer small, evidence-backed helpers, glycine, which can lower core body temperature and improve sleep quality, and L-theanine, which supports calm, GABA-friendly brain states. Simple environmental tricks, cooling the bedroom and a timed shower, amplify these molecules' effects. Put these pieces together in the right order and timing and you shift the entire night's architecture. Cortisol drops, core temp falls, delta waves grow, the pituitary releases HGH pulses, the glymphatic flush engages, and the metabolism is allowed to mobilize stored fat overnight. That's the biological chain we want to reactivate. That's the science behind Renew. It's not a miracle, it's a clinical protocol that combines these exact components, timed for evening use, and formulated to create the biochemical environment for delta sleep. Renew is developed to help people bypass junk sleep by supporting the pathways we just covered: stress control, thermal regulation, and sleep signaling. Important: Renew is designed to support sleep physiology. Individual results vary, and it works best when paired with the wind-down habits we'll cover next. If you're on medication, pregnant, or have medical conditions, talk to your doctor before starting any new supplement. But for many people over 40, this targeted approach is the missing link. Next, concrete nightly habits that cement these biochemical changes: the 65-degree rule, the 3-2-1 wind down, and exact timing tips to make Renew work for you. If you want to try Renew, the link is in the description, or stay with me while we walk through the simple routine that guarantees better nights. We've covered the why, delta waves, the glymphatic dishwasher, and the 3 villains. Now let's lock in the simplest, highest impact habits you can do tonight to flip the system back on. Habit 1. The 65-degree rule. Lower your bedroom to a noticeably cool temperature. Aim for about 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius, or at least cool enough that you feel a slight chill when you first lie down. Cooling your core is one of the single most powerful physiological cues that tells your brain, it's time for deep sleep. When core temperature falls, the brain's thermoregulatory center encourages slow wave activity. That drop permits delta to grow and protects the HGH pulses and glymphatic surge we want. It's simple thermodynamics with huge biological consequences. Habit 2 is the 3-2-1 wind down. No food 3 hours before bed. No work 2 hours before bed. No screens 1 hour before bed. This structure reprograms your evenings and prevents the villains from piling up. Practical swap. Replace that last email with a short walk or light stretch. Swap the late snack for herbal tea. Swap scrolling for a printed book or warm low-light conversation. And set an alarm that's not for waking, but for starting your wind down. Habit 3. Use temperature timing. A warm shower 60 to 90 minutes before bed, timed so your body can cool afterwards, or a brief cool shower immediately before bed if you prefer, plus breathable sleepwear and linen sheets. These small tweaks amplify magnesium and glycine's effects. Habit 4. Keep a consistent lights out time. Your brain loves predictability. Dim lights for an hour before bed, avoid bright overheads, and wake within an hour of the same time each morning, even weekends, to stabilize your circadian rhythm. Combine these habits with the Renew protocol we discussed: magnesium baseline, ashwagandha for stress, glycine for temperature support, and melatonin precursors time to lights out, and you've got a practical system that helps your brain run its dishwasher nightly. Do this for 2 weeks and notice the difference. Less morning fog, less stiffness, more energy, and the slow, steady change of a metabolism that finally starts to cooperate. Sleep is not a passive state, it's the engine of repair. Turn it on, and your whole life changes. If you want to try Renew, check the link in the description. I've also pinned a checklist that walks you through the 65 degrees rule and the 3-2-1 wind down step by step. Try the routine tonight. Disclaimer: Renew and the strategies discussed are designed to support natural sleep physiology. They are not a substitute for medical care. If you are pregnant, breastfeeding, taking prescription medications, especially SSRIs, blood thinners, or thyroid meds, or have serious medical conditions, consult your healthcare provider before starting any supplement. Individual results vary. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who wakes up exhausted. I'll see you in the next video where we dive into morning routines that preserve deep sleep gains. Sleep well.